The bright studio lights flickered across Julie Walters' calm yet determined face as the cameras rolled for another episode of Lorraine. The veteran actress, known for her warmth and wit, had agreed to appear on the show to promote her latest project, a charity documentary about aging with dignity. It was meant to be a friendly chat. But what began as light-hearted banter would soon turn into one of the most uncomfortable live TV moments of the year. Lorraine Kelly, ever the cheerful morning host, welcomed Julie with her usual sparkle. "Julie Walters, everyone loves you. You've played everything from a Hogwarts professor to a strong working-class mum. How do you keep doing it all?" Julie smiled politely. "Well, I think it's just about staying grounded, Lorraine. I've been lucky to work with good people and tell stories that matter." The audience clapped. The mood seemed fine, for now. But Lorraine, always chasing a headline, pushed a little further. "You've always been open about your health battles, Julie. You disappeared from the spotlight for a while, some people thought you'd retired. Were you just tired of it all?" Julie blinked, a little taken aback. "I took a break because I needed one, Lorraine. I had to focus on myself and my family. It wasn't exactly a choice made lightly." Lorraine nodded but pressed again, this time with a teasing tone. "Oh, come on, Julie. You look fantastic now. Maybe a bit of surgery. Everyone does it." The studio went silent. Julie's expression hardened, the kind of quiet anger that doesn't need shouting to be felt. "No, Lorraine, I haven't had any surgery. I believe aging is part of living. And I'd rather talk about the work I'm doing than my wrinkles." There was a nervous chuckle from the audience, but Lorraine seemed to misread the tension. "You know I'm only joking, love. Don't be so serious. You actors can be a bit touchy." Julie took a slow breath. The warmth in her eyes vanished. "I'm not being touchy, Lorraine. I'm just saying there's a line. I came here to talk about helping people find value in themselves, not to be mocked for getting older." The host tried to recover, laughing awkwardly. "Oh, don't take it the wrong way. You know what telly's like, a bit of fun." But Julie wasn't smiling. She adjusted her jacket, leaned forward, and said quietly, "There's a difference between fun and disrespect." Lorraine shifted uncomfortably in her chair, the tension now thick enough to cut with a knife. The control room buzzed in panic. Producers whispered through headsets, trying to cue Lorraine to move on. But before she could, Julie continued. "I've spent my whole career fighting the idea that older women stop mattering after 50. And when a woman on television, another woman, jokes about age like it's something to be ashamed of, that's not fun, Lorraine. That's the problem." Gasps echoed from the audience. Lorraine forced a tight smile. "Julie, please, we don't mean to offend." But Julie stood up. "I know you don't mean to. That's what makes it worse," she said, her voice calm but cutting. "You're kind, Lorraine, I know that. But maybe it's time we all thought harder about the words we use." And with that, she removed her mic and walked off the set. The camera panned awkwardly to Lorraine, who sat frozen for a moment before turning to the audience. "Well, that was unexpected," she said, trying to laugh it off. "We'll take a short break." The show cut to commercials. Backstage, chaos erupted. Producers rushed after Julie, pleading for her to return. But she shook her head. "I've said enough. I won't be part of that kind of TV," she muttered, grabbing her bag and walking toward the exit. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips of the confrontation flooded Twitter and TikTok. Hashtag Julie Walters, hashtag Lorraine Kelly Show, and hashtag Respect Older Women began trending. "Good for Julie Walters." One tweet read, "About time someone called out that shallow nonsense on morning TV," another said. Lorraine's team released a short statement later that afternoon. Greater than, "We regret that a misunderstanding occurred during this morning's interview with Julie Walters." Lorraine has the utmost respect for Julie and her incredible career. But by then, the damage was done. The video had gone viral worldwide, sparking heated debates about the treatment of women, especially older women, in the media. That evening, Julie finally broke her silence. In a brief interview outside a charity gala, she told reporters, "Greater than, I don't regret what happened. I just want people to remember that kindness and dignity aren't outdated ideas." Her words were replayed everywhere. Critics applauded her for standing up for herself. Fans called her a national treasure with a spine of steel. Lorraine's show continued as usual the next day, but something had changed. Viewers noticed the host was a little more careful with her jokes, a little more thoughtful in her tone. As for Julie Walters, she returned to her quiet life in the countryside, far from the noise of morning TV, with her reputation not just intact but stronger than ever. She hadn't planned to make headlines. But sometimes, the most powerful statements are made when someone simply decides to walk away. The morning after Julie Walters' dramatic exit from Lorraine, the British media was in overdrive. Tabloids splashed the story across their front pages. Julie Walters walks out live on TV. Lorraine Kelly faces backlash over insensitive remarks. Clips from the broadcast played on every news channel, with pundits and celebrities weighing in. Some defended Lorraine, saying her humor was misunderstood. Others praised Julie for her courage to call out disrespect, even on live television. Julie, however, remained quiet. She had returned home to her countryside cottage, far from London's noise. Her phone buzzed endlessly with calls and messages, from journalists, old colleagues, and even fans she'd never met. But she ignored most of them. She sat in her garden, sipping tea, watching the autumn leaves fall. For once, she didn't feel like performing. She just wanted peace. Her best friend and former co-star, Emma Thompson, called that afternoon. "Julie, are you all right, love?" Julie chuckled softly. "I'm fine, Em. I didn't mean for it to blow up like this." Emma sighed. "You did the right thing. People needed to hear it. You know how rare it is to see someone on TV just walk away. It's powerful." Meanwhile, Lorraine Kelly was facing her own storm. The show's producers held an emergency meeting to discuss the fallout. Viewer complaints had poured in, thousands of them, criticizing Lorraine's comments as insensitive and tone-deaf. Lorraine, usually so composed, looked exhausted. "I never meant to hurt her," she said quietly to her team. "Julie's one of my heroes. I was only teasing. But maybe I went too far." The producers nodded, suggesting she issue a public apology. Lorraine hesitated. "If I apologize, it'll look like I'm admitting guilt." Her assistant replied gently, "Lorraine, people don't want perfect. They want honesty." The next morning, Lorraine went live again. This time, the atmosphere was somber. The host faced the camera directly, her tone sincere. "I'd like to begin today's show by addressing what happened yesterday," she said. "Julie Walters is someone I deeply admire. My comments were made in jest, but I understand they came across as hurtful. I never intended that. Julie, if you're watching, I'm truly sorry." The apology was genuine, and viewers could see it. Social media softened almost immediately. Hashtags began to shift. Hashtag forgive Lorraine, hashtag women support women. Later that day, Julie's publicist released a short statement on her behalf. Greater than, Julie appreciates Lorraine's apology and hopes this moment encourages more thoughtful conversations about aging and respect. That simple message, calm, measured, and graceful, reignited admiration for Julie across the nation. The tabloids now called her Britain's class act. A week later, the two women unexpectedly met again, this time not in a studio, but at a charity fundraiser in London. The tension was thick at first. Lorraine approached cautiously, a glass of champagne in hand. "Julie," she said softly, "I was hoping I'd see you tonight." Julie turned, smiling faintly. "Lorraine, no hard feelings, I hope." Lorraine shook her head. "I should be the one saying that. You were right. I've spent years telling women to be proud of who they are, but maybe I've been playing into the same old jokes. I'm sorry." Julie's expression softened. "We all say things without thinking sometimes. What matters is that we learn." The two hugged, and the cameras nearby caught it instantly. Within hours, the picture went viral, symbolizing forgiveness and maturity in a world that often thrives on conflict. Over the following months, Julie's message began to ripple through the entertainment industry. A BBC panel discussion on women and aging in media invited her to speak. She talked about dignity, representation, and why older actresses shouldn't be pushed aside. "We don't disappear when we turn 60, she said firmly. "We evolve. And that deserves celebration, not silence." The audience gave her a standing ovation. Lorraine, too, seemed changed. On her show, she began highlighting women over 50 who were doing remarkable work: authors, athletes, scientists, and everyday heroes. It was clear that the incident had taught her something real. One morning, she even invited Julie back on Lorraine. The producers were nervous, the memory of the walkout still fresh. But to everyone's surprise, Julie agreed. When she walked onto the set months later, the crowd erupted in applause. Lorraine greeted her warmly, saying with a playful grin, "Now, before we begin, I promise no jokes about age." Julie laughed. "That's all right, Lorraine. I've brought my own sense of humor this time." The atmosphere was light, respectful, and genuine. They discussed Julie's documentary, Still Here, which had become a nationwide success. The two women even shared a laugh about the incident that once divided them. "You know," Julie said with a twinkle, "maybe that little argument was exactly what we both needed." Lorraine nodded. A storm that cleared the air. As the show ended, the audience stood and clapped again, not for scandal this time, but for grace, honesty, and growth. Julie walked out of the studio once more, but this time with a smile. The air felt lighter. She knew that sometimes, walking away isn't an ending, it's the beginning of something better.